Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Dropping into Happiness. We are your hosts. I am Rachel.
And I'm Maggie.
I was like, come on, where'd you go?
I'm right here.
We're here to say hi. We do have a lag still. Oh, no.
Oh, rats.
Okay. Apologies if we have a weird lag today. We tried to troubleshoot it, and I don't know what happened. So apologies. But hi, friends. What's today? Today is the first Wednesday in November, friends. October's gone. It's over. It's hasta la vista, out of here. And I'm very sad about it because that's my season. So, dang. I
Rest in peace, October 2022.
I know.
You were good to us.
And it was the first, kind of from pandemic. I feel like it was the first kind of the Halloween back, almost feeling like normal, like no restrictions. There was actually events, trunk or treats were up happening again. People are trick or treating. So that was very exciting, exciting. But I do have a pretty major announcement to start with today. So some of you Sundrops may already know this, but today, November 2nd, will be my last day as a virtual coach with WW. I made this decision. This had WW did not ask me to leave. There was no trouble. There was no drama. But the reason I decided to is very much so tied into today's topic. And that's why we're going to have today's topic. Because this was something that I am experiencing real time. And I just really wanted to talk it out. I feel like very selfishly, kind of for my own therapy, just burnout. I don't know if a lot of you realize, so Maggie and I have the podcast. I had workshops with WW. I work full-time at a radio station, technically 2 radio stations and a digital media company, that's all under one roof. And I work for the main company that owns all of them. I also do freelancing and I do social media for a local mall here. I have 2 teenagers, my husband.
That's a lot.
And we have a very large family. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there was just way too many things happening. And I think I talked to you about this either last week or week before last, when when we were talking about navigating maintenance, how I'm finding it very, very difficult. And I had to sit down and evaluate, what is causing me friction. And one of the things that was causing me friction is I was so burnt out at the end of the day. I didn't want to think about planning my meals. I didn't want to, go for a walk. I didn't want to go to the gym. Even though I know those things are very beneficial for me and they make me feel better, I was so stressed out, so full. I was such a ball of anxiety every day. Thinking about the next day stressed me out. Waking up first thing in the morning stressed me out. And to add on top of that, what am I going to eat today? What am I going to exercise today? That was too much for me and I didn't like it. Because I like the way I feel when I eat better. I love the way I feel when I get in good activity. For one, I know that alleviates some of my anxiety. I know that. And I really wanted to get that back. So something had to give. And I'm not going to not be a WW member, but I do get to put some more focus back into just being a member. So I'm very excited about that. But, obviously, if you're listening to the podcast, this is not going anywhere. You can still check in with me here. If you still want that feeling of being in a workshop, that's why my mom likes to watch Maggie and I on YouTube. Because she says it feels like she's in a workshop. She's just not talking. So if you want to watch us on YouTube, I've been told it feels very workshop experience-y. We're on Instagram. My Instagram handle is balancing_that_life. Because that's what I've been trying to do, right? Balance it all. And it took me a very long time to come to the decision that I was going to leave, working with WW. And I was talking to one of my other coworkers, and one of the things she said to me was, "Girl, you can't do it all." Right. And I do a lot of it for others because, gosh, I love our WW members so much. You guys have made me laugh. You guys have made me cry. I take notes in workshops because I just love the things that we talk about and the things that we share. And so every week when I'd be like, oh, I just can't do this anymore, I'd get in a workshop and be like, oh, but I just love it so much. It was so hard to come to that decision. Whew. But so today if you're listening to this early in the morning, my last workshop is tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, November 2nd. So, I mean, because, some people are going to listen to this after that. But that is the day of my last workshops as a coach with WW. That doesn't mean that I won't be hopping in. And so many people, Mags, were like, oh my gosh, you can start going to Maggie's workshops now. Because we have a couple at like the same times.
Right.
And people used to get mad and be like, great, you guys, now I have to choose between the two of you, because it was like the only time they could go. And we both had one at that time. I thought it was so funny. But that's turning into this week's topic. Because like I said, very selfish of me, but I wanted to talk it out. Burnout. Mm-hmm. Burnout within our life, maybe burnout within the journey, but burnout within my life seriously got in the way of my journey. I have put on about 25 pounds since last June, so it's taken about a year and a half, but I don't like it. I've gotten away from my healthy habits. I've gotten away from the things that make me feel good, that make me sleep better, that make me, feel good physically, mentally, and all of the above. I've started to get away from those things because I had so much on my plate. Pun not intended for Thanksgiving month, but you know what I mean? It's just, yiza. I mean, Maggie, you do a lot too. So I don't know. How do you feel about how you balance everything out?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, my life outside of the podcast or being a WW virtual workshop coach, I do 7 workshops a week, and I frankly don't do much behind the scenes with the podcast. Rachel carries a lot of that load, and I'm very thankful for her. And I would, if it ever became too much, I feel that we would all understand if we had to take a break or take a lot of podcasts do seasons and things like this. So, but that the podcast is a small portion for me, but I also am a full-time high school chorus and theater teacher, and I also have a church job, and I also make income through social media and have brand deals and posts and things that I have to make. And I also am training for, as most of you know, for a really big race challenge coming up in January, which takes up a lot of my time. So I can definitely empathize with the conversation around burnout, and even just burnout of being a coach. And I don't want to discourage members when we share this, because obviously Rachel and I both love being a coach, and it brings us a lot of joy, but it's hard to be on all the time. It's hard to feel like you have to be inspiring. It's hard to always be the cheerleader and not really have that space for yourself. Even when I go to workshops now as a member, it's hard to turn my coach brain off. It's hard for me to be present, to unplug and just go under the radar, right? So and right now with this training this weekend, I had I did 7 miles after school, and then immediately turned around and went back to school for like an 8th grade choir night. And then
oh my gosh,
the next day I had a church choir retreat from 9 a.m. to 12, and then I did a 17-mile run, and I did not get done until 7:30 in the evening. Wow. And so I was like, what have I done? And it's hard because you think about, like, it's only going to get more intense from here until I see the finish line. And I've experienced burnout in running. I love activity, and I go to the gym, and I like to lift weights, and I feel really kind of inspired in that right now. But in terms of running, I don't have the same joy that I had a few years ago when I first started. And it's because, when you overcommit, when you just do a lot at once on top of everything else, it can be very frustrating, and burnout can manifest in a lot of different ways. Not necessarily like, oh, I don't want to do this at all, but just going through the motions, being on autopilot. It's like a checklist item for me. I know everyone's watching me. I know I've raised money for this. I know that, I don't want to let myself or others down. So got to finish this run. It's not for, oh, I love running. And it's in those moments where I try to remind myself, like, hey, you have a body that can do amazing things. You have your health. You need to have gratitude for this opportunity, because there's some folks out there who physically cannot do what you're doing, and would just give it anything they could to be able to accomplish that. So it's a constant battle, a conversation of this is how I'm feeling, but oh, I should be grateful. And it can be kind of disheartening sometimes if you
Yeah.
let yourself go there mentally.
Well, and like you were saying too, especially when you feel like others are relying on you, when others are watching, it's, yeah, you feel like it becomes something you have to do. And don't get me wrong, like I remember, oh God, and it just broke my heart, like on my Facebook, because literally I just hit like my 2 years with WW, and on my Facebook, like my memories popped up, and it was like 2 years ago. I was so excited because I had my second interview, and I was so excited because I got to do this thing that I was so happy and proud to do, and I'm super honored that so many of you allowed me to be a part of your journey, but it just and truly that was that part of why it was so hard for me to walk away, is because I know people were counting on me. I know people were relying on me. But you know what I was not expecting, and like just so pleasantly not expecting, I guess, was so many members telling me, I am so happy that you are like, practice what you're preaching.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Those were the words that were going through my head, is that at the end of the day, we're a wellness company. And if we as coaches are not taking care of ourselves, or we're not feeling like we can prioritize ourselves, then it's really hard for us to show up in a genuine way. And so I totally understand why you made the decision that you did. And I know I'm sure there are lots of people who are sad and disappointed. But at the end of the day, I hope that they all see. Though. Yeah, I was going to say, at the end of the day,
so supportive.
I hope they see that it was, not only protecting you, but protecting them, because we talk about how you can't pour from an empty cup. And some of us out here, we're trying to pour from broken cups, right? Like we're just so done. So I think if someone out there is experiencing burnout, looking at what can you trim from your life? What are some things that you could let go of, even if it's for a temporary season, that could create some space? Because living a healthy lifestyle is hard. And Rachel and I both lost the majority of our weight over the pandemic when we could treat it like a full-time job. It really has to be. If you want to see consistent success, it has to be a full-time job, because you are changing the entire way that you show up in the world. All of your behaviors and your habits, the things that, were instilled in me for over like 26, 27 years before I joined, right? So it has to be a full-time job. And, when you have so many things that you're juggling, it's easy that's something your health journey is the first thing to go.
Oh yeah. That's something that I noticed too, though, about, having to take that step back and taking that step back and having to look at everything and be like, what is it? What is it that's doing this to me? We did lose the majority of our weight when we were in lockdown. So I even thought back to what my daily schedule used to look like. And it was radically different than what it is now. And I did not adjust. I guess when my schedule changed, my journey didn't. And it was just like, oh, well, I can't do that now because that's not what my schedule looks like. Oh, and I can't do that now because that's not what my schedule looks like. Instead of shifting, it just was like, oh, that's in the way now. I can't do it. And it just kept happening like that. It just kept happening. And it got to the point where I can't tell you the last time I exercised. Like from, you know what I mean? Like intentionally exercise. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I'm still getting my steps in, but like even cause like on Fitbit, you can do little challenges, and like my active minutes, no, like I'm getting my steps in, but I'm not having active minutes. And I used to crush that every single week. And to not have that is driving me crazy. Like I'll be, I still, plan out my breakfast and I'm meal prepping my lunches. But then the second I get home, I'm so overwhelmed from my day. And I've told you guys many a times, I'm an emotional eater, and anxiety is an emotion. Stress is an emotion. And so the second I get home, I feel like, oh gosh, I just need something. And I'm like, okay. And I know that is who I am. And so, but instead of grabbing like a yogurt or a banana, like I see my son making air fryer chicken wings, and I'm like, oh, chicken wings, that's good. And just to have that something. And so I'm like, okay, now I know where my friction is coming from. And I made the conscious decision to eliminate something that I was doing. Now my goal is to step back and be like, okay, this is how my day is shifted. How can I bring my journey back up to a priority? Because it was so on the back burner and I don't like it. I don't like that I've been putting weight on. And I mean, like, it's not that I'm not happy with my body and not happy with who I am and some of the things that I still have as, because we've talked about that, right? There are still some habits that are going to be ingrained in us. I still grab my water. I still don't have regular soda. I still don't, you know what I mean? I still don't do a lot of these things, but some of those habits are coming back and I don't want to just slowly creep back up to where I started. So I just want to nip it in the bud, kind of get some of this back off and just be back to being really, really comfortable in my clothes. Cause I'm not comfortable in my clothes right now. My jeans are tight, man. And my husband was like, why don't you just buy the next size up? I was like, no, I don't wanna. I like the size that I'm in. So I just don't want my jeans to hurt my stomach. So yeah, I was super, super burnt out. From life though, you know what I mean? And from being burnt out at life, it affected my journey. And I've seen this happen with members and I feel so bad because I feel like sometimes I feel like that means they're failing. And I'm like, no, honey, like you are doing for others. You are putting others first. And that is always a beautiful thing to do. But when you feel that you are losing it, that you are cracking, that you are fracturing, you have to take this. It is not selfish to say, hey, I need to focus on me too. I need to do this for me. It's part of life.
How did you come to the realization that you were burnt out? What was like your final straw or breaking point?
Oh gosh. So I have workshops. Well, I did on Wednesdays. I have 3 on Wednesdays. And they start at 2 p.m. Pacific. So at the radio station, I would get there about 6:50 a.m. And I was there until 1:30. And then I would come home and literally like set my stuff down and get on the computer. And I would be on workshops like hours, like multiple hours. I'd have a little break. Then I'd have another one. And then I wouldn't be done until almost 6. And then my family would be like, what's for dinner? And I was so... when I get anxiety, it's like, it feels like it's on my skin. I don't know. It's almost like electricity or ants on my skin. And I would just get to the end of the day and I would almost feel like I couldn't breathe. Because when my schedule shifted, when I got this promotion, what was it, a month or so ago now, I was like, oh, I can do it all. That's fine. They are awesome. They let me adjust my schedule to still do my workshops. But it was like, and I don't like waking up in the morning and not looking forward to my day. I don't like that feeling. I don't like it. I love waking up and being like, oh, I was going to do this today. Oh, I was going to go do here. But when I wake up and I'm trying to drag myself out of bed because I am so full of anxiety of all of the things that are on my list to do today, and I know that I will not have any opportunity to just stop and breathe, I just couldn't. I couldn't anymore. Yeah. Too much.
Yeah, that is too much. And I feel like we just as a society need to normalize like stepping away from commitments and things that aren't serving you or benefiting you in the way that they maybe did in the past or that you originally intended them to. Because at the end of the day, y'all, we get one life and we get one body and we get one mind and we get one heart, and we have to take care of those things. And if our life is so stretched thin that we cannot carve out space for that to be a priority, then it's got to go. And my burnout manifests in my tracking. I feel like my activity is just so a part of who I am that, I mean, it has to be rough for me to not get into some activity, but I feel for me, like tracking feels effortful, and really it's more so I'm making choices that I don't feel are the healthiest or the lowest in points. And then because I feel burned out or because I'm not being intentional, then I feel guilty or ashamed. And then I just don't want to do it, I think is really what it is. And so, but it comes from, you think about how much effort goes into planning and how much effort goes into grocery shopping and how much effort just goes into sticking to the actual plan and not being tempted by all the higher point things that might come your way, like all that takes energy. It takes effort. It takes commitment and awareness. And if you're tired and you're stressed and you're pulled in a million directions, it's really hard for you to have that mental capacity to hit the pause button, to be strategic, all of these things. So for me, like, my burnout and my journey definitely manifests in the food pillar. And I've been feeling that for, I don't know, like a year, more than a year, like on and off, on and off, on and off, committed, in and out, in and out. And like, I've not gone back to where I started, and I've protected so much of what I've accomplished because, like you said, just some things just don't really leave once you've made those adjustments. But like, dang, girl, I want to get to goal. And like, I went to a workshop as a member, and of course, like, there are people in there that knew me as a coach, so it was kind of hard for me to open up because it's hard to be vulnerable when you feel like you're put in this leadership position. And I know that a lot of members will give the feedback of, oh, it makes you relatable, it makes you real, but it's like, also, I mean, it's very vulnerable to say like, hey, y'all, I'm not really practicing what I'm preaching right now, and this is really hard and whatnot. So what I talked about is like so frustrating when you know everything that you're supposed to do. You know all the techniques. You've tried them before, they've worked. You know the value of them. Like, you have a why. Your why is relevant. Your why is important to you, but then you just still don't have the energy or the desire to like actually commit. And I don't know for me if that's burnout or just like a funk. I feel like a lot of us, like from friends that I've talked to that are on program, fellow coaches, and just like other members, like a lot of us are just in a funk right now. And I hate that because we're coming up on like a challenging time of year when it comes to our health journey. And like, for me, I'm like, this is not the time where I want to be. Like, I want to be on fire for the program. And it's like, how do we flip the switch? And maybe I need to look at areas of my life where I need to trim things down or consolidate. And like, frankly, I've made this commitment where like, once I get through January, I'm going to take a step back and look at my goals in terms of mainly with activity. Like, okay, you've done the dopey, like, you're good, you've proven to yourself that you can do that. Like, can you just chill out a little bit and on that, so that you have like space to look at the food pillar or to look at these other aspects of your journey that make a big difference, So
for those who may not, when Maggie just said pillar, just in case you are not a WW member, we have 4 pillars that we like to focus on. That's food, activity, sleep, and mindset. So, those are the 4. And it's funny because I do feel like when you focus on one, they kind of trickle into the others, which is really interesting. And I truly don't think I could never concentrate on all 4 at one time. You just can't. I feel like that's overwhelming.
It's too much.
I was just telling Maggie too, though, when it comes to my burnout, I feel like that's part of what I did in the past when I would try to do this journey. I would go gung ho and try to do all 4 pillars all the time, 100%. And it was too much. It was too much of my focus, and and then even though, even if the slightest thing I couldn't accomplish, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I just can't. This is too much. I just can't. Because I would try to do too much, all of it, all at one time. And I would consolidate it, and I would literally burn myself out on it. But we've talked about that too, with taking smaller steps. And so, with this transition of my burnout and me not going to have my virtual workshops and having this different time, I find myself making very, I guess I kind of wrote down the habits and the goals that I loved in the past. Because remember, that's one of my favorite techniques that we've ever done with WW. It was rewind the tape. Yes, looking back, what worked for me, what was helpful, what were these things, and I want those back. So, when we get to our STAR goals, not actually in just a minute, that's part of my STAR goal this week is now building back in my habits that I adored, that I know were helpful, that I have lost with this shift of schedule and life. And like my kids are going to 2 different schools now. And it's just, so that's my STAR goal this week, though, is literally one of my old, really solid habits that has kind of fallen off. I want to build that back up now. So that's going to be part of my STAR goal. So I want to do that, though. I have my list of all the things that I know were beneficial, that I know were a rock star, that felt good to do, that helped with my journey. And I'm going to take those little steps and just really start to work them back into my current schedule now. So I can do this.
Yeah, you can do this. I'm really proud of you
I can do
because
this.
I'm really proud of you because I definitely understand like the weight of that decision and wanting to step away from coaching. And I think it's really great that you listened to your gut and what you knew is going to, set you up for success long term. And,
Yeah.
like you're just going to be a better you. You're going to be a better, wife and mom and radio employee and host extraordinaire and all the things because you're going to have, and a WW member first. Like, and I always
Yeah.
try to tell myself, like, I'm a member first, coach second, but I feel like I've definitely flipped the script and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like a lot of my energy goes towards coaching and the others and, between workshops and Connect and Instagram, it's like taking care of others, taking care of others. And I would like to use what you're sharing as inspiration to flip it back around and let myself be member first. So your star goal, I had a star goal in mind, but yours kind of inspire me because rewinding the tape, one thing that really helped me with my WW success was I would take pictures of everything that I ate and I would post it on my stories on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram and I would share the points. And I did that for a long time. And I'm talking everything that I ate, right? Um, and eventually I was like, oh, I don't need to do this anymore. This is redundant. And also, I don't want anybody to look at my food and think, oh, I need to eat this exact way to lose weight or to be successful. So, like, there was a lot of factors that went into it, but I basically just put that on a complete halt. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll do the occasional what I eat in a day reel, or I'll do the occasional eating, story sharing, but it's not like it used to be. So, I think I'm going to be out of town this week. I'll be running in some Disney races and I'm really excited.
Yay.
But I think my star goal will be, no, I know my star goal will be that I'm going to share my food this week on stories with the
Yeah.
points. No matter what the points are, no matter what it is, even if it's a drive-by Halloween candy situation, I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to post it on my stories because that's something that made a big difference for me in my accurate tracking.
Yay.
So that's my star goal. Do you want to go
Yay.
with your recommendation?
Well, so I'm gonna say what my actual star goal is. So I said it was gonna be one of my habits. So that this
Mm-hmm.
particular habit that I'm going to do, I've told everybody this. I used to always have my breakfast, and this was back before I had a different schedule. I had my breakfast by like 8:30. I'd have a snack at 10. I'd have lunch at 12, a snack at 3, dinner about 5:36, and then a snack at 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to get back into that habit, especially with the stress out as I can get at the station. Because I love the station so much, but it's very fast paced, and it can overwhelm me. So I'm gonna set an alarm this week I'm gonna set a 10 a.m., a 3 p.m., and a 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to hold off on my nibbling, even if it's anxiety driven. I'm going to hold off on my nibbling until 10, 3, and 7. And I'm going to plan for it. I'm going to have something there. And I'm going to have something very high in protein and fiber. Like I don't know if for my 10 or my 3, I want to do a banana with a chocolate premier protein shake because that's going to give me some fiber. That's going to give me some protein and that kind of boost. So it might be my 3 o'clock to kind of boost me through and kind of hit my sweet tooth in the afternoon. But I'm going to set an alarm for that to get me back into that rhythm. Cause now I have breakfast at like 7:30 instead of 8:30. And so, I might even have to set it to 9:30 for my morning snack or something, but you know what I mean? Look at how it breaks down for my day. Cause I get off of work at 2:30 and especially when I'm not doing workshops, I'll get up at 2:30 every day. So essentially as soon as I get home, I want to have a snack. I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait until I get hungry. I'm going to get home and I'm going to have a snack, a planned snack, high protein, high fiber, but I'm going to set my alarms. That's my actual
That's a
goal.
Great goal. I love it.
So, and I'm going to have, right. And if I got to do that for weeks until I can get back into that rhythm again, then I will do that. Right. Cause we wash, rinse, repeat 100%. So my recommendation though to people is to guys write it out. Write it down. Take that step back. Look at your schedule. Write your schedule down. Write what is causing me friction. I just went out to dinner with a girlfriend of mine that I haven't seen in a really long time, and she's a teacher. And so we were talking. She was like, "All right, well, this is what my day looks like." So she was talking it out with me, like what makes it feel so hard to have her journey and to make the better choices. So, right, because once we look at it, write it down. Because sometimes we don't see areas that can be shifted or adjusted or, you know what I mean? Until we take that step back and we're like, holy cow. Okay. Okay, I see it here. So that's my recommendation, guys. Write it out. Write it out. Be honest. Write it down, and then, like I said, see where we can shift, alter, trim, whatever the case may be. So that's my start and recommendation. So
Love that recommendation.
Yeah.
Y'all know me. I always got to keep it upbeat with a product recommendation. Totally random, but some of you may have heard of the Stanley Cup, and I'm not talking hockey. I'm talking a water container. This is like very on trend, which who would have thought we would have a water bottle that was on trend, or water cup thing. But I actually had the
Water cup
Walmart
thing.
version for quite a long time. It was like and I loved it, but I beat it up and I was using it every day, and like I see the value in investing in the Stanley. So the perks of this is it's 40 ounces, but it fits in a cup holder, and it has a handle, and it has a straw, and it just like checks pretty much all of my water container boxes. And so I've been crushing the hydration game. And so if you were wondering, is it worth the hype? Yes, it is.
I just always remember that I felt like your number one recommendation, or not recommend, but your number one thing that a cup has to have, that has to fit in your cup holder in your car.
Yeah, it does, because I'm not going to take it with me if it doesn't. And most of the bigger ones, and most of the bigger like water containers, they don't fit in the cup holders. And so I'm like, see, but if you can get your hands on the Walmart version, it's pretty good. But this definitely keeps your ice and water colder longer, the Stanley Cup. So it's worth the dollar per ounce, in my opinion.
Nice.
Now, some people have like multiples, and I can't justify that, but the one, I can justify the one.
Well, okay. Speaking of our recommendations, and what we have said in weeks past, remember I told you guys I was going to do this, and I did it, and I just showed Maggie, like, look what came in a couple days ago.
Pumpkin pie built puff.
Woo! It's like a fluffy, like, marshmallow. Like, it's a fluffy, like, pumpkin marshmallow. I know. I told Maggie, though, I said, I'm a weirdo. I don't want to bite into it, so I like to cut it into, like little bite-sized pieces where I just bite. Yeah. Is that weird? I don't know why I'm so weird.
I like to heat mine up in the microwave for 10 seconds and then use a fork. Very good.
Ooh, that sounds good too.
Yeah.
So before we get into our quote, I do want to say something about WW as a company that I truly, truly loved. They were very aware of compassion fatigue. So that is a real thing. And I didn't know what compassion fatigue was until I became a virtual coach. So it's very well known, I believe, like when it comes to like teachers and healthcare providers, you know, when we are giving all of ourselves to others. So they they gave us a lot of resources. They gave us resources to counseling, which should end if we needed it. So I do want to thank WW for keeping that very top of mind. You know what I mean? I feel like that's another reason I was okay with saying, hey, this is why I need to leave. Cause they're like 100%, like, we want to make sure that your well-being, your headspace is your top priority. And WW is a phenomenal company when it comes to that. So I just wanted to put that out there and tell them thank you. So, all right, Maggie. So quote, and then we're going to wrap it up.
The quote for today: you are not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Don't burn yourself out, my friend.
I have a feeling that's going to hit home for somebody right now. They're going to be like, oh, I needed to hear that one. Yeah. Woo! All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for letting me kind of get this off of my chest and talk about it. And thank you so much to all the WW members out there who have ever attended any of my virtual workshops. I'm going to miss you. I will still be around. But thanks for dropping by.
And have a magical day.
Bye.